Is premature or planned obsolescence real, or is it a myth?
Planned in the sense that a lifetime is planned. That's always the case. In all technical artifacts, you have a certain lifetime, and if you're an engineer developing something, you have to calculate this lifetime. So this is not a secret, that's open. But the other thing is, do they intentionally put in mistakes, something like this? And we asked a lot of engineers in an environment where they were really free to speak, confidential, no relation with the management or so. And the answer is a plain no. Nobody intentionally puts in mistake into the products. But the constraints they have. Time pressure quite often more important than cost pressure, but there's also time to market, things like this, that limits in the end the lifetime of the products. And quite often it limits them more than they intended to have as a lifetime.
I don't know how it is in other countries, but in Germany there's a very intense media discussion or kind of public outrage about obsolescence. And it started, I mean, we looked at the last 30 years, and I mean, the beginning of the 20th century and in the end of the 20th century, there were some articles about it, but not so much. And then in 2011, it started with a really high media coverage of this issue. And now it's like a permanent issue of outrage, a permanent matter of outrage. And we looked at 200 different articles in different kinds of newspapers and online news channels, and almost all the articles were about planned obsolescence, and they all had like a linear allocation of responsibility towards producers. So this was there was no question, and they always, very often, not always, very often they started with a introduction like, yeah, like everybody has already experienced the product breaks down after the 2-year warranty. They presented it as a normalized experience that everybody makes. And in our survey, we asked people what products in the last 10 years broke down after the 2-year warranties. And I mean, it was 10%, 20%. It was not so much. It was not like everybody. And there weren't also, if we asked about products that break down in general, like also after many years after purchase, there were also not so many products. So people don't experience products that break down all the time. That's not the case. So this is kind of interesting how this discussion gives a bias to your experiences.
Well, we found that the consumer has a major role to play in product lifetimes, in how they use products. That often determines how long they last. We've also found that products last a particular lifespan and consumers aren't too unhappy with how long they last.
So finally, if there is premature obsolescence, the consumers don't object to this.
Many consumers seem reasonably happy. It was surprising. We did a survey early this year. Over 1,000 consumers we interviewed. We asked them about a whole range of different products, and we asked them whether they were satisfied with the average lifespan of products. And we expected to find a lot more dissatisfaction than we found. And I think that reflects the fact that expectations have fallen over the last 20 years. That whereas in the past, certainly when I was growing up as a child, when we bought a fridge freezer or washing machine, you expect it to last at least 10 years and possibly 20. These days, 5, 7 years and people don't complain.